How do you start your workday as a business owner? Do you have a solid plan for what you're gonna do when you come in, or do you kind of just come in and wing it and figure it out as you go? I'm definitely the type that likes to have a plan, and so I'm continuing my little series I've been doing on planning and time management with talking about in this video what I include in my startup routine and how you can improve your own workday startup as a business owner. And if you haven't watched last week's video about workday shutdown routines, I highly recommend you go check that one out before this video. To me, if I don't do my workday shutdown routine, my startup routine is that much more chaotic. I feel like a good workday start actually starts the day before. So go check that video out before you watch this one if you haven't done that already. So compared to my shutdown routine, my startup routine is gonna feel a lot more simplistic. And that is because the ultimate goal for me of my startup routine is not to have some long drawn out process. It is to get me into deep focus work into my priorities for the day as quickly as possible. It is to help me make sure that I am working on the things that are my priorities that I have designed rather than what everybody else wants for my priorities to be. This is how I help to make sure that I stay in control of my day. It starts with a shutdown routine for planning out what my priorities will be, but then it also happens in my startup routine when I revisit all of those and I can very clearly see exactly what the next thing is I need to focus on rather than getting into whatever else might be on my mind for the day. The other thing I'll say is that the point of a good startup routine is to reduce the number of decisions that I have to make in a day. As a business owner, especially for those of you who are also moms like I am, and then if you also run multiple businesses like I do, you know that the number of decisions that you have to make on a daily basis is high. There's lots of questions, lots of things being thrown at you throughout the day. The more decisions you have to make, the faster your brain is going to get tired and you're going to lose your willpower to continue doing all of the hard things that need to be done to continue moving forward. So we want to minimize the number of decisions that you have to make when you first come in and then get into that work or the more difficult stuff. So I'll also put in a quick note about morning routines. My morning routine is not excessive, nor am I somebody who believes you have to have a 20-step morning routine. When I hear people say, like, I can't do anything if I don't have my morning routine, I don't want to be dependent on a 20-step morning routine for me to have a successful day. I just want to set up my whole business in general to make sure that I have the energy to do the things I need to do. And having this workday startup routine, and it's a pretty quick one compared to the shutdown routine, this definitely helps me to do that. So here's what's in my workday startup routines, and this is similar whether I'm in my home office or at my other office. The first thing I do is I will unpack my bag, set up my workstation, make sure I have everything that I need, including water and headphones. I find that if I don't have my water bottle filled up when I sit down at my desk, it could be a couple of hours before I get up to actually refill it. So to make sure we stay hydrated, have that water already filled up as part of your startup routine. I also will open up my planner and check my goals. So I will have filled out my planner the day before. So I'm opening it up, revisiting what I said that I wanted to prioritize for the day. I also find that it's a really great time to revisit the goals that I set for the quarter. What are the things that I said were the most important? And then I'll also revisit my weekly priorities, the projects that I set during my weekly planning session that I really wanted to make sure that I got done this week. And I'm making sure that in that day, I'm gonna be intentional about moving myself towards those goals. This counts for both business and personal goals. So a lot of times I'll just remind myself, hey, you said you wanted to go for a walk at lunch every day. And so you need to make sure that you remember that that's a priority. I'll also check ClickUp, which is the software we use for task management and project management. There shouldn't be anything new in there, but I might see that somebody submitted an inquiry or there may have been something that got assigned to me. And so I'll just check it and make sure everything aligns for the day. And if I need to shuffle things around, I do that. Then the next thing I do are quick check-ins. So I check in with my team in Slack. I'll see if anybody left me any messages, if anybody has any questions. I'd keep Slack minimized throughout the day so that I can't see the notifications, because when I see the little red dot, it's really hard for me to focus on anything else and I want to open it up. I try to keep it minimized throughout the day and just check it at sort of pre-designated times, or open it, of course, when I have like a question I need to ask somebody. But I'll usually check in first thing in the morning and make sure that I'm not holding anybody up. If there's something that I can quickly address, I'll do that there. Otherwise, if it's something that I feel like I don't need to prioritize over my first task for the day, I'll actually just use the reminder feature in Slack, tell it to remind me in an hour so that I don't continue to think about the notification. I typically will also do a quick client check-in at least most days. So I'll check in on my community Slack channels that I have for the High Profit Society and the Wealthy Women Collective. And then when I have a private client, I'll also check Voxer and just make sure there's no messages out there that are outstanding or people need things. I like to try to respond, again, just to sort of not getting it out of the way, but if I know that there may be questions out there, it definitely takes up more of my brain space. So I like to see if there's any questions and then address it. And then again, I usually check back in around lunchtime and then towards the end of the day also. And that is literally all that I put in my startup routine. So most days that takes me maximum 10 minutes to get through all of that. I usually don't have that many open questions between my team or my clients. And so I'm able to very quickly feel like I am set up, that I know what I need to prioritize, and then I can jump right into the first priority that I have for the day. So I do personally find that my energy level is highest in the morning. I think a lot of people are this way. I know that some of you aren't, and that's totally fine. And so you can adjust your routines as needed. I find that my energy levels are the highest. And so being able to very quickly reset, feel like I'm set up, feel like I know what I'm prioritizing, and then just jump into the work is what I have found works out for me the best. And that's also why I restrict meetings on my calendars most days, so I don't have meetings like first thing when I come in. And I also don't schedule anything for at least 30 minutes to an hour after the usual time I get to my desk, just because I need time to go through my startup routine, jump into whatever my priority is for the day. I feel a lot better when I have those things taken care of versus having to come in and running to my computer and having to jump straight onto a call or a meeting. So I also want to add another suggestion that a lot of my clients find helpful, and that is the idea of habit stacking. So habit stacking is when you take a habit or a routine that is already established. Like let's say you established a startup routine for when you first come into your office, and then you stack another habit on top of this. I've definitely done this in the past with content where I know that every single day it's one of my priorities to come in and maybe do engagement on social media. So since it's a daily thing that I want to do, I find the most success when I actually attach it to one of my other already existing habits, aka habit stacking. I'm more likely to remember to do it if I attach it to something that I'm already doing on a daily basis. Depending on what you want to stack onto it, because I don't want your startup routine to take away from you being able to jump into deep work. So again, customize this to the way that you like to work. But I do find that at the end of that startup routine is a really great time to stack on another daily habit that you might have. It doesn't have to be the startup routine. Sometimes my habit is most days to eat lunch and then go for a walk. I've seen people who will do their social media work if they want to come in and do daily engagement or whatever, like doing that after lunch instead of after the startup routine. But I find that the startup routine can be a really great time to add in another habit that you want to stack. Like I said last week with the shutdown routine, if you want to create your own startup routine, start small. Don't start with a 20-step routine because it's really going to take away from how impactful a startup routine can be. What I do like to do, and here's another bonus tip I didn't say last time, is I will write down if I'm changing my routine. I will literally write down on a sticky note step by step what I'm going to do and my estimate of how much time it's going to take me. And that's how I know about how long I need to slot in to my, weekly scheduling and time blocking every day for how long it's going to take me to do my startup routine before I can have other things scheduled. If I'm changing my routine, or maybe if you were establishing a new routine, having it written down on a sticky note on your computer monitor or in your planner or somewhere where you're going to see it will just help you not have to second guess. So like, what did I say I wanted to do in this routine, until it all just becomes second nature. So that's it for startup routines. I hope that these two videos on workday shutdown and startup routines were helpful. In the comments under this video, I would love to hear if you have any takeaways from implementing your own routines or other things that you personally find helpful. Drop them here because I think it could be helpful for other people watching the video, and I'll see you back next week.